For most businesses in Australia, energy is just one of those costs you have to wear. It's a line item on a spreadsheet. But what if it wasn't? What if you could flip the script and turn that cost center into a real, genuine revenue stream?
So let's start with a really simple question. Could your business be earning money from its energy? The answer, for a lot of companies, is a definite yes. What's always been a pretty unpredictable cost is now a huge opportunity. The only trick is knowing how to unlock it.
And the reason this is all possible comes down to one thing: the grid itself. Right now, Australia's entire energy network is going through this massive, once-in-a-generation transformation. We're moving away from the old centralized power stations and towards a future that's way more decentralized and packed with renewables. Now, that kind of change, it creates some serious challenges, but it also creates incredible value for those who are ready for it.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at what's actually happening with the grid. Then we'll talk about the key piece of tech, your untapped asset, that makes all this possible. After that, we'll walk you through the actual path to making money. We'll get into what it means to be grid-ready and profitable from day one, and then we'll wrap up by asking a pretty important question about your own energy strategy.
Okay, let's dive right in. The whole future of our grid is basically being mapped out by the Australian Energy Market Operator, or AEMO. And their 2026 Integrated System Plan, well, it's not just some boring technical document. It's a clear blueprint for where the big opportunities are going to be. In that blueprint, it's all about solving some pretty hefty challenges. I mean, think about it. The more solar and wind we add, the more we have to deal with intermittency. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. That creates real headaches, like voltage and frequency stability problems that make the grid kind of fragile. On top of that, just connecting new stuff to the grid is super complex, and the way we all use power is changing all the time. The bottom line is, the grid needs help, and it is absolutely willing to pay for it. So that brings us from the problem to the solution. If the grid is crying out for flexible, super reliable support, what's the best tool for the job? Well, the answer, by a long shot, is modern battery storage.
And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at this number. This isn't someone's opinion. This is pure data. Battery energy storage systems, or BESS, they score a 98 out of 100 for how well they align with AEMO's big plan. That's not just good, that's an almost perfect match for what Australia's grid needs right now.
And this is what we're talking about. These aren't the batteries you have in your remote. Modern, containerized BSS are seriously sophisticated pieces of technology. They can soak up cheap renewable power when it's abundant, hold onto it, and then discharge it in a fraction of a second to keep the grid stable, or even better, sell that power when prices are high. They are literally the key to unlocking this whole new market.
Okay, so having the right hardware, that's step one. That's crucial. But the real question is, how do you actually turn a box of batteries into a profitable asset? Because that leap involves some pretty complex engineering and market know-how. And that's exactly where having a specialist partner becomes absolutely essential.
You can really break this whole journey down into 3 clear stages. It all kicks off with really smart engineering and design. From there, it moves into the hands-on system integration and delivery. And finally, you have the ongoing operations and optimization to make sure you're getting the best possible returns. That's the whole path, right there, from an idea to actual consistent revenue.
This first step, engineering and design, is so critical. This is where your specific situation, your energy use, your costs, gets translated into a proper technical blueprint. But the goal isn't just a set of drawings, it's a complete plan for a system that's designed from the very beginning to be compliant, to be connectable, and most importantly, to be profitable.
Next up, you have to make that plan a reality. System integration is all about making sure the different pieces of the puzzle, the batteries themselves, the inverters, all the control software, play nicely together. It's about managing the whole construction, the commissioning, and getting your asset physically plugged into the grid without all the usual headaches. And this is where the money is really made. See, once the system is up and running, it's not a set-and-forget kind of deal. This stage is all about active management, constantly watching performance, tweaking the strategy based on what the market is doing, and jumping into grid services programs to squeeze every last drop of value out of your asset. This is how you turn it into a reliable, long-term cash machine.
So, what does this whole end-to-end process actually get you? Well, it delivers an asset that has 3 really important qualities. And when you put these 3 things together, you unlock the ultimate price, making money from the moment you flip the switch.
First, your asset has to be grid-ready.
This is non-negotiable. It's the foundation for everything. It basically means your system doesn't just work on paper. It takes every single technical and regulatory box required by the network and AEMO. If you're not grid-ready, you can't even connect to the grid, let alone earn a dollar.
Second, it's gotta be dispatchable. This is the action part. Dispatchable means your asset can be controlled remotely to respond instantly to signals from the energy market. It can even be bundled together with other assets into what's called a virtual power plant, or a VPP. This allows it to provide really valuable services to the grid, like frequency control, and get paid premium rates for doing it. And check this out, here's a real-world example of what that's worth. One site that started providing these frequency regulation services saw its daily revenue jump by 14 times. Let that sink in. Not 14%, 14 times. That is a massive 1,300% increase, just by using their asset to actively help the grid. This is the kind of potential we're talking about.
Which brings us to the crucial point. When you combine being grid-ready with the capability of being dispatchable, what you get is revenue from day one. There's no long waiting game. The second your system is commissioned, it's ready to start participating in the market and earning you a return.
So embracing all this really means we have to start thinking about energy in a completely new way. For years and years, it's just been an expense, but now it's time to build a real strategy around it as an asset.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to a major shift in perspective. The old way was totally passive, right? Energy was just this unpredictable cost you had to pay. But the new way, it's active. Energy becomes an asset that you can control, an asset that actually generates revenue for you, all while helping to make our national grid more stable. It's a win-win.
So that leaves us with one final question to think about. In this new energy world, not having an energy strategy, well, that is a strategy. And it's one that leaves a huge opportunity just sitting on the table. So the question every business should be asking themselves is pretty simple. What's our energy strategy?